Teddy Roosevelt was one of America's most robust, active, and healthy presidents ever. But what many people don't know is that as a young boy, he suffered from debilitating asthma. In fact, there would be nights where he could not breathe, and his father would put him in a carriage and have his driver fly down the streets of New York City as fast as he could, trying to force air into young Teddy's lungs. One day, as Teddy was growing up, still a child, his father looked at him and said, "Teddy, you've got to build your body." And together they started an exercise regime, and they were able to, through weights and boxing and exercise, work the asthma out of his system. Now, Teddy Roosevelt loved his father. He called him Great Heart. He always wanted to be like his dad. And his dad did not give Teddy the out of saying, "You're a victim. You're just a sickly kid. This is going to be your life." His father was very wealthy, and he could have propped up his son and taken care of everything. But he said, "Nope, son, you've got to build your body." When Teddy was a young husband, his wife, who he adored, was having a baby. And he rushed home, and he got there just in time for her to deliver the baby. But it was a really, really hard delivery. And pretty soon he realized that she was going to die. And to make matters worse, in the very same house just upstairs, his mother was also dying from an illness. And during the day and night, he would go from his mother's bed down to his wife's bed, and they both died within hours of each other. Teddy Roosevelt's diary, for the entry of that day, there's a big black X, and he says, "The light has gone out of my life." And a couple days later in his diary, he says, "My life is over. There's nothing left for me." Teddy Roosevelt was in his 20s at this time. He had a lot more ahead of him. But instead of giving up and quitting or using his wealth to dive into alcohol or wild living, he went out west to become a cattle rancher, where he could build his spirit. And out there, he learned lessons and became the guy that was able to lead the Rough Riders up the hill at San Juan. It was a big part of his development. Once again, Teddy Roosevelt could have said, "I'm a victim. Woe is me. Life is not fair. The love of my life has died. My mother died on the same day. This is awful. I quit." But that wasn't Teddy Roosevelt. Later, when he was president, he still loved to box. And one day when he was boxing, he got hit in the face really, really hard, and it detached one of his retinas, and he can no longer see in that eye. But instead of getting on the pity party bandwagon and saying, "Oh, I'm such a victim, this is terrible, now I can't see, how's this going to affect everything?" He loved to hunt and fish and write and read, and now he had to do it all with one eye. But instead of quitting his exercise program, instead of saying, "Well, I'm a victim, this is just not fair," he picked up jiu-jitsu. Yes, Teddy Roosevelt was a jiu-jitsu president. He did it way before it was cool like it is now. And he said, "You know what? I'm just going to do something else active." And Teddy Roosevelt did this over and over and over. He helped start building the Panama Canal. He built up our Navy, which made us a world power capable of defending freedom in World War II. He won the first Nobel Peace Prize as an American president for brokering peace between Russia and Japan. He was so active and did so much in science and literature and politics and founding many of our national parks. He was a go-getter. And many times people look at guys like Teddy Roosevelt and they're like, "Oh, you had it so easy. You had a silver spoon in your mouth when you were born. You had great parents, a supporting family. Everything in life went for you. You went to the best schools. You had an easy life. Of course you were going to do great things." But that's not true. Because Teddy Roosevelt's brother had all of the same benefits. In fact, he had more than Teddy Roosevelt. He was healthier than Teddy Roosevelt. He was better looking than Teddy Roosevelt. Some people say he was maybe smarter than Teddy Roosevelt. He was a charmer. Women loved him. He built right. But when he faced some of the struggles in his life, Instead of turning to action and a positive attitude, he turned to alcohol. He had some traumas that happened in his life. He was there when his father died, and it really traumatized him. And just like Teddy Roosevelt going through those really dark days, instead of choosing to move on and keep going, he chose an easy way out. He used his wealth to drink himself into trouble, to get in trouble with women, to travel the world, kind of just doing nothing. And he died a miserable man. No one knows about Teddy Roosevelt's brother, and he had all the same advantages. You see, there's an idea in society right now that says, if I don't have the results that I don't want, it's somebody else's fault. I'm a victim. I didn't have the same opportunities you had. I had more trauma than you had. In fact, there's this victim mentality where you're almost given a gold star for being the most victimized. And so there's this argument of like, no, my life is way worse than yours. And somehow that gives you sympathy or power or credibility. And while people might give those things to you and it might feel good, what you're doing when you take the victim life is you are cutting your own legs out from underneath you. Everyone has those dark days where if you wrote a diary like Teddy Roosevelt, you would just put a big X right through the middle of the day. Everyone has those days. Everyone has advantages. And everyone has a choice. In Deuteronomy, God talks to the children of Israel, and he says, today I set before you blessings and curses, life and death. It's almost like they're standing at the fork in the road, and God says, I can see the destination of either one of these paths. This one will bring you joy. This one will bring you pain. Which one do you want? And unfortunately, the children of Israel chose the pain route. And it's crazy because when people read the Old Testament, they say, oh, God is such a harsh God in the Old Testament. He's so awful. Look at all these terrible things he did to them. No, they chose those things. Teddy Roosevelt and his brother had the same choice. And Teddy Roosevelt chose the right path. And he ended up being a president that did so much good. He remarried. He had a wonderful family life. He had a wonderful life. He saw things and did things that are just epic. And his brother chose a very different path. And his life was filled with more misery and more pain. And you could look at it and say, well, that's just not fair. Teddy Roosevelt was just charmed, and this other guy, his brother, wasn't. That's not true. There's no such thing as a charmed life. It's about your choices. And so today, I want to speak to the part of you that falls to the victim side. I mean, this is something I struggle with, okay? So I need to hear this too. The victim choice will destroy your strength. The Bible says we are more than conquerors. The word is hyper Nike, above conquerors. God says you are more than a conqueror. The Bible also says, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart. Be courageous. Jesus has overcome the world. And because Jesus has won, he gives you his victory. And no matter what you're facing, no matter how dark it is, you can choose to be a victor. And when you make that choice in your heart, it changes everything. The battle may not go away, but you will be able to overcome. You are strong. You are good, and you are brave. And I know that that's true because God made you. God died for you. God believes in you. So don't fall into the trap of I'm a victim. Choose the truth. You are a victor, and you are destined to do great things. God bless.